Smith, and you're watching NYJFTV.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our third installment of NYJFTV. I'm one of your hosts, Kevin Sirkin, and I have a feeling things are going to get pretty intense today. Joining us again, we got Fireman Ed in the house and former New York Jets wideout Rob Carpenter. Now, guys, it's been a crazy week. We finally got some football to talk about. We got a Jordan Jenkins interview coming up later on, but right now, I got a bone to pick with the Jet fans at home. I was at that game Thursday night at MetLife. It couldn't have been any more embarrassing. Genos Smith comes into the game before he even gets under the center and has a play. He's getting booed out of the building. Guy goes 8 of 14, has a fairly decent game. He's still getting booed. Every incompletion, he gets booed. How do you go to a game like that in a preseason game and boo the guy? Does that make any sense?
Well, it's already, for him, and I think he already knows this. Once he steps into the game, there's going to be people out there that actually, don't want him here. He hasn't had the greatest time here under center for the Jets, and everybody knows that. It's a pretty hot time for him right now. But at the same time, I think he knows this, and he can go out on the field and try to block that out and just try to.
As a Jet fan, it's about that. It's not about him.
Absolutely,
So
I agree.
If you're a Jet fan and you want to see this team succeed, how are you going to boo your own players in a preseason game?
I agree.
It's just
I'm 1,000%. I'm not a big Geno supporter, but I'm not going to the game and booing anybody with the green and white. That's not happening. We have enough Joe Benignos in the world, okay? They don't represent the fan base. Use your brain. You put the green and white on for a reason. We stay positive and we root for our team. That's what you do. It's not about being negative. It's about being positive. All right? Let's go.
Couldn't have said it any better, man. And then you look at today, you got stories going left and right about him not talking to the media. And listen, I understand that he has a professional responsibility to talk to the media, and he's not doing himself any favors. But at the same time, no matter what this guy says, the media will twist it left and right and make a story out of it. So he's in a no-win situation here right now.
Pretty much he is. When the story came out that he walked out of the locker room, with pretty salty after the game was over. Most of us knew that wasn't true. He did some interviews right after the game was over. I see from his point that he's probably not speaking to certain people in the media.
And he shouldn't.
That comes with what he's gone through over the years. But he's pretty much sticking to it. He'll say what he has to say after a game or after practice to certain people, and then he just keeps it moving. He's a backup quarterback. There's really not a whole lot that a backup quarterback can actually say, because it pretty much should be all about the starter.
I don't think that he needs to. He doesn't have a responsibility to talk to every individual one of these guys. I mean, I'm on board with that. Now, I don't agree he doesn't talk to anyone, but if you want to pick and choose, I don't have any problem with that. That's fine by me, because these guys have an agenda. There's no doubt about it, and we all know who they are. I often wonder, are they for us or against us? I mean, when you're covering us and you're covering the Jets and it is us, I know you're supposed to be fair, and tell the whole story, but when it gets biased on a consistent basis on a negative level, it does get tiresome and, annoying for the fan base and obviously for players like Geno Smith. So although I have my things with Geno Smith, there's a part of me that understands when he doesn't do something, but I don't think he should do it across the board. I don't agree with that.
Well, for the most part, and also for the most part, there's guys out there that do the same thing. Brandon Marshall doesn't talk to everyone in the media. For the most part, it's just he doesn't talk to all the journalists. You know, he does a lot.
And he's a backup quarterback.
Yeah, he does a lot
why
of
do we care
national
what the
media
backup
stuff.
quarterback has to say right now?
So, and it's been like that for years. You know, guys on the team pick and choose who they want to speak to as far as journalists go and as far as print media go and video media goes. You know, different guys that pick and choose who they want to speak to. It's not just Geno.
And the other story that made headlines throughout the week that, you know, I thought it was a positive thing. You go to Darrelle Revis and Brandon Marshall. You know, this took place after our last episode. I thought it was a good thing. These guys are bringing the competitive fire day in, day out to practice. These guys have tons of passion for what they do. These are two of the best guys to ever play the game at their respective positions. All right? They have a lot of pride in what they're doing out there. And when you're going head-to-head every day, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. Tempers are bound to flare up a little bit. I mean, you've been in the locker room. Am I wrong on this?
We spoke about this just a couple of weeks ago. Ed. You know, fights happen on the field during training camp. Everybody knows this. It happens at every team.
Love it.
Every year. It just so happened that it was Brandon and Darrelle. You know, if it wasn't those two guys, nobody would talk about it. But Brandon, you know, he took the shot at Darrelle. These guys are going back and forth that one day in practice. And as I actually tweeted it out, you know, later on that day, it'll be washed between them. It'll be over. But it won't be over in the media. Those guys will actually still be trying to talk about it.
They still are.
And the next day in practice, it was nothing between those guys. They were right back at it, lined up one-on-one, battling between each other, and
It's
nothing
football.
else was going on.
You know what?
You know, it's just one of those things that happened, man. And because it was Brandon and because it was Darrelle, it got blown out of proportion a whole lot more than it should have.
You know what? Years from now, fans will long for that day when those two, your superstars, your two guys, Revis, Hall of Famer, Marshall, Hall of Famer, battling it out, going at it to the point where it's like schoolyard ball, all right, which we all can relate to. You don't have to be a pro to understand when the competitive juices come out and things happen, you know, and I loved when I heard that, I loved it. They are bringing it.
Yep.
They're bringing it big time. That should go well for the season. It brings out all the other young guys looking in that training camp. They're looking and going, look, the two studs are going at it. What's my excuse? What am I doing? Am I bringing my A game? Am I here at, you know, am I bringing 150% like Brandon Marshall and Darrelle Revis? God bless you. Love you. Love your passion. Keep going with it, brother. Keep going with it.
Love it. Dude, you're getting me fired up. I'm ready for some football right now.
It's getting close. I'm getting more fired up.
All right, so now that we got all that stuff out of the way, let's actually get into the game for a little bit. Jets open up their season Thursday night, 17-13 win against Jacksonville. Let's take a look at the offense first. All three quarterbacks, except Christian Hackenberg, got into the game. I thought they all looked pretty good. You know, you had some flashes here and there. I thought Geno showed some improvement. I thought Petty was night and day from this year to last year. You even had some receivers like Quincy Enunwa, Sharon Peak. Those guys stepped up a lot. Even Ben Ijalana stepping in for Bruno Giacomini. He had a solid game. So what were your takeaways from the offense?
Well, for the most part, you can see that Fitz is comfortable. Even missing all the OTAs, he's comfortable in offense. You can see Geno has stepped up, you know, his knowledge of the offense. Petty has stepped up a lot. He looked really comfortable out there. But overall, guys that actually stood out to me, Quincy stood out to me, you know, a lot. He looked like he's really comfortable. He knows the ins and outs of the things that he has to adjust on the fly to. And you saw the two big plays that he got from Fitz. One of them was a quick adjustment on the fly. Fitz noticed it right away. Quincy adjusted to it, caught on the catch and run. That was great to see because later on in the season, you're going to see things like that. Guys actually get to the point where they're so comfortable they can react on the fly without it actually affecting anything else with the rest of the play. Jalen Marshall, big-time guy. You know, he stepped up with as a receiver and as a return guy. You know, I can see from the first series when they went into their nickel package on offense, he was actually in the game. It was Marshall, Decker, Enunwa, and Jalen Marshall. That says a lot right there, already right off the bat, that he's actually in the game with those guys. So it's showing that they have a lot of trust in him, and he's been, you know, improving exponentially from the time OTA started until now. Other guys actually on the offense, you're going to see, well, hopefully Forte comes in, you know, and gets things done to improve the running game. But Bilal Powell, you know, is steady as a rock.
Yep.
You know, so there's no problems with Bilal actually being right there.
Ed?
Well, I'll tell you, there's something to be said, and Rob, I know we've had this conversation. You know, the cohesiveness of a second year with the regime coming in second year.
Right.
You know, coordinators, basically the same offense, only a couple of different parts that are different. Right. I think that Quincy is, if he holds on to the ball, is going to have a monster year. I'm not a fantasy guy, but if I was a fantasy guy, he would be, because I believe he's going to do some damage this year as the third receiver. Yeah. I want to give a big shout out, which doesn't get enough. He's gotten pounded through the last couple of years. Brian Winters. Brian Winters I was watching Brian Winters. I kept, on the timeouts. I was home. I'm going back and forth with TiVo, and I'm looking, and Winters blew up the tackle on the Jaguars. He put him 7 yards into the end zone and pancaked them. Okay? Bilal Powell just went right behind him. It was a beautiful sight. I want to give a shout out to Brian Winters. He doesn't get enough when he does things well. I like to give him a shout out. And he's a beast. So if you see guys like Brian Winters and Quavale and Elijah, how do you say?
Igelana.
I can't say that word.
Igelana.
I'm sorry, Igelana. But if you see these guys, these young guys that have been with us now for a few years and starting to make a difference as offensive linemen, oh man, the sky is the limit. If Clady comes on and you got these young guys that are, have been with us now, that's why I say the cohesiveness. It's huge for the team. I'm very excited for the offense and what can be. Fingers crossed, no major injuries.
If Jock comes back steady,
that would be awesome.
And Clady comes in and plays like he was the Pro Bowler that he's been over the past few years, man, the O-line is going to be a beast.
Absolutely. And I think that's the only area right now that you have any kind of concern with on this team.
Right.
If the offensive line could just stay healthy, sky's the limit, like
and
you said.
And the punter.
We'll see. We'll see about the punter.
Bastards.
But yeah, I mean, again, I know in the first preseason game you're not going to show a whole lot on offense, but you still want to see smart football, guys showing discipline. And we had 2 penalties all game. We didn't turn the ball over. And aside from the concussion to Dominique Williams, nobody got hurt, which I thought was a great takeaway from that game.
And I mentioned this last week with Fitz controlling the ball and limiting the turnovers, and we talked about this also week 1 going through the season. If he could limit the turnovers that the team has, this team would go a long way, man.
Yep,
long way.
And I guess the other concern actually that you could have right now, it's still early in preseason, but the other day in practice, Tommy Bohannon was taking reps at running back. All right, you got a lot of running backs down. Is it too early to start panicking about that?
Yeah, it's too early. This point in training camp, guys are going to get nicked up and guys are actually going to be resting. That's just my thing. The guys aren't taking the team reps. They're doing a lot of individual stuff. Like with myself out there yesterday, Forte wasn't doing a lot of team stuff, but he was doing a lot of individual stuff. He had the pads on. He was going through practice. He's not going to be I doubt he probably plays this week. The big test is going to be week 3 during the preseason. That's always the big test for the team. Week 2, guys play a little more than they did week 1. But week 3 is always the big test for the starters. And if you see most of them out there, they'll be out there mostly, until the third quarter. So, that's the time when you see if a guy's actually healthy and going into the season. You want to keep guys healthy going into the season after that game.
The running back position, obviously, Rob, is the toughest position in football. You don't last any kind of length of time in the NFL. When they have the statistics of the average NFL ball player, it lasts about 4 years, I think, and they last like 2.3 years. Yeah. So, I don't have a problem with anything they do when it comes to the preseason because they take such a beating when they're in there. They're always getting hit. They're the guys that get hit on a consistent basis. We want to see them go in full force with Kyrie Robinson. We want to see Forte. We want to see Bilal Powell. We want to see these guys and have that, three man horse that's going to be just, I feel very positive about if Kyrie, the key is Kyrie, I think Forte will be fine. I think that's his MO because last year they said he didn't play hardly at all in Chicago and then went out the first game, had 141 yards. He had a bunch of catches, touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. So
for the whole preseason, he only had 14 carries last year through the whole preseason.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And
the
most,
big boys
most of the top running backs do that. Most of the top running backs around the league, for years, they don't go out. They don't get touches in the preseason because they don't want to potentially get hurt, and they don't want to take the pounding. because they know they're going to take the pounding for 16 weeks during
Right.
during the season. So
Exactly.
they limit most of the running backs during the preseason. All the top guys do that. So
I
I'm
won't
not
worry
concerned
about
at
it.
all.
Yep.
No.
All right, so let's transition over to the defensive side of the football. You got off to a little bit of a slow start, a lot of missed tackles early on. I was a little bit disappointed that nobody really stepped up to claim the number 2 cornerback spot. You had D. Milner, they went 6 for 6 throwing against him. Buster Screen, Marcus Williams got beat a couple times. So, that was early on. And then later on, though, you saw guys like Justin Burris really step up. He was constantly around the ball. Rontez Miles was nailing people left and right. You definitely saw the speed at linebacker. So what were your takeaways from the defense?
My big thing was the linebackers. I was paying quite a bit of attention to what the linebackers were doing. And Lee, that dude impressed me a lot, man. Right from the start. As soon as he got in the game, first play, he's right in the pile. And he made a few plays where he skated from his linebacker spot into the backfield so quick. That guy's going to be a player. And I wouldn't be surprised if sometime during early in the season where he actually has stepped into the starting role. I wouldn't be surprised about that at all. There was a lot of missed tackles, though, and that's pretty much expected during the first preseason game. Guys don't get, during training camp now, they don't get to hit a lot. They don't get to tackle a lot. So the first preseason game, you're always looking for the fact of, are the guys actually around the ball? The missed tackles I won't go too much into right away. If it starts happening second week, third week, then it might be a problem. But as long as the guys are actually in the place where they're supposed to be and have the potential to make the play that they're supposed to be making, with the first week, I'm not worried about that at all. I did like what Big Cat Williams was doing. That dude, second year.
He threw that guy away like it was nothing on that sack.
Second year, he's comfortable. He's not thinking.
Yep.
He can just react. And you can see his reactions are very good right now. And I really like what I see between him, Sheldon, and Mo. It's going to be fun to watch those guys, on that D-line. And the DBs, for the most part, there's a really lot of competition going on at the DB spot right now. And looking for that number 2 guy, I think it's pretty much going to come down to the final week, actually, of training camp to see who actually steps in that spot. Some of the guys actually stepped back into practicing when I was out there yesterday. So, it's going to be interesting to see for the next 2 weeks, see if guys actually can make plays and who's actually going to step into that spot. I actually right now, Buster Screen is actually doing what he's supposed to be doing. Marcus Williams is going to be making plays. I'm pretty sure of that. Dex, I'm not really too sure. He looks like he's actually comfortable, but he's just not playing the ball too well. But on the other hand, this past game really can't take a lot away from him. Allen Robinson's an All-Pro, so you got to give him props for making plays on the ball. They weren't easy plays. It's not like he was actually so beat to the point where
he was right there.
Just making a play on the ball. Both the 2 passes in a row, the long passes where he got beat. He also has to come up with making his tackles as well. So Milner's actually just going to have to just concentrate on making the plays that he's supposed to be making. But there's going to be a lot of competition.
Don't they, in the preseason, the defenses are very vanilla.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of, they're not putting a lot of schemes together as far as, studying film for this.
The first week, no, none of that's going on.
They're not doing any of that. So, I don't take a lot of solace in the fact that, the missed tackles are clearly from not being the 2-a-days, cutting down all of that. And you see that league-wide. It's not just Jets. It's everywhere. When you watch a game, you just see constant missed tackles. In fact, you see it as it goes into the regular season. Until they, but the vanilla, I don't get too crazy with a lot of that. We didn't have all our personnel there. I am excited what you said, Rob, with the linebackers. I also thought that Malden had some plays that he was in that backfield quite a bit. If you look at that film, you see Malden. He's pretty much everywhere, but he wasn't making tackles. He was not making the tackles, because if he was making the tackles, we would have been talking about him like crazy. Right. I mean, and so I'm concerned about D. Milner. I thought he was going to step up. I don't want to say too much. It's one game. I want to see what this kid. I'm hoping. I'm rooting for this kid. He's
and you got to remember, he hasn't played since 2014 either. So you got to give him a little time. I think.
I'm hoping that he can. make a move. I mean, it'd be great. I thought overall that, I didn't really have a problem with it, at this point.
Yeah.
I did think Jacksonville was moving the ball. I mean, they moved the ball up and down the field.
That's the only concern.
No doubt about it, but.
That's the only concern I had early in the game. The first 2 drives that Jacksonville had, they actually did move the ball right down the field. Yeah. But the defense actually held them out of the end zone on the first drive. So, that really didn't bother me all that much, and it is the first preseason game. Defense is very vanilla. There was no game plan study. It's just, all right, let's go out and make a vanilla call and just do what we do.
Come off the field. And, do we want an injury? I mean, we want to go into the Cincinnati game, on September 11th, and just, we want to be full strength. All they keep talking about is this schedule. It's aggravating me. It's got to aggravate them. Like, we're stepping stones to these teams. Oh, they got 6 games. We're the Jets.
There you go.
And
there you go.
We'll see about that. They're going to come into Cincinnati. It's going to be one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl. Other than New England, there's going to be a couple of guys. They're going to be right up there. Yeah. Let's see what happens. I like our chances if we're healthy going into that game.
And lastly, on the defense, just a couple guys that didn't play: Dexter McDougal, Trevor Riley, Mike Catapano. These are guys that can contribute on special teams. McDougal, we had high hopes for him, a 3rd-round pick. All of a sudden, now you got a lot of competition behind them. Guys are stepping up. Are these spots in jeopardy?
Always. Spots are always in jeopardy. But Dex was back at practice. So, going forward, if he can stay healthy, we'll see the next 2 weeks what he can do, because I'm pretty sure he's going to get his chance to be out there making plays. And like you said, Riley, Catapano, those guys actually, once everything gets healthy and, these guys can actually get out there. Special teams is going to be big too.
Yeah.
So
that's how they're going to make their.
A lot of those guys actually that are injured right now that are going to be coming back. If those guys actually are big on special teams, that'll be their spot. Let alone being the backups at the regular spots that they actually have.
What's the line, Rob? What's the line? You can't make the club if you're in the tub.
Exactly.
So I mean, these guys got to get out of the tub. And but Riley, I think, is a big special teams guy.
Yep.
So he has been in the past.
Yes.
So a lot, some of those backup linebackers are going to make their mark by being in special teams. The guys that aren't on special teams that are at that linebacker position, I'd be worried.
Yeah.
I'd be worried.
And just to finish up on the game, special teams, how beautiful is that? The 51-yard return from Jeremy Ross, and then Jalen Marshall takes 184 yards. The only, complaint, but Ed, you kind of called this a couple weeks ago. Ross Martin missed a couple field goals. I think that competition's over before it even got started, right?
No.
Well, we talked about that with Folk.
Yeah.
Folk was a steady guy.
The big boys put their big boy pants on when the lights
lights
are
come
shining
on.
bright.
Yep.
When the lights are shining bright and the kid just kind of I think he thought he was back in college. You can't, you see, how about Todd Bowles? You see him look at him when he missed that one, he was like this. Looked at him like, Bowles is just looking at him with disgust. And he don't usually do that. No. But he was doing it then. When he was it 39-yard, he missed the first one. Was it 39 yard?
Right? The 55-yard is halfway into the end zone.
But he was looking at him when he came off like.
Yeah, you got to be kidding me. He had the you got to be kidding me look.
You're matching Fork, toe to toe, and that's all we're hearing in the papers.
Practice.
And I was saying to you, I did say that.
You did.
I said, how they're talking about Fork. I mean, Nick Fork is a really, really good kicker. He's one of the best kickers we've ever had. He may be the best kicker we've ever had.
And everybody took that for granted.
And Pat Leahy. That Pat Leahy made more field goals. They were honoring him. Hey, Leahy, you missed more field goals through the years in the 90s when we sucked. Okay? and they're honoring you. I was sick to my stomach. Guys, these kickers, they drive you nuts.
With how consistent Folk has been, he's been taken for granted a lot. But it was a pleasure to see Ross with the returns, Marshall with the returns, and I think that's going to be a big key with special teams this year. Either one of those guys, whoever is the guy who actually is going to be back there returning kickoffs, and with the new rule this year, I think the new rule with the touchbacks coming out to the 25-yard line, I think it's going to backfire on what the league actually was trying to do with that, because I think a lot of teams are actually going to kick the ball short and force the teams to return the ball and they hope their coverage teams actually can cover and make the tackle inside the 25-yard line.
You
So
keep reading about that.
we actually saw that to open the game.
Yeah, right.
Folk actually kicked the ball short for the coverage team to actually get down there. They made it out past the 25, but I think teams are now going to actually start taking their chances if they think they have a good cover team, but that might play right into the hands of what the Jets actually have right now. If they actually can get those returns going, that might be a big thing.
I'm getting a kick out of the fact that, and I haven't met this Brent Boyer yet, but, I find it ironic that, when we had good special teams, Mike Westhoff was a fiery, he didn't hesitate to go after these guys and go nutty on them. And now we have another guy that's just as, and, I don't know, is there something to be said for that? I mean, you played the game. Is there something, or is that just a fallacy, or?
No,
I mean,
special teams
react
coaches
to that whole
guys do react.
persona.
Special teams coaches are usually fiery guys because special
Bobby
teams
April
is usually
seemed to
usually the forgotten part of the game. So, when you're in practice, guys don't want to do special teams. That's like the last thing that you're thinking about. So most of the coaches around are pretty fiery guys. They know they actually have to get you to concentrate just that much more because not only are you learning what you have to do on either offense or defense, you actually have to learn what you're doing, as far as special teams go, but it's the forgotten part. So they want you to actually be a part of that. You have to actually be a part of special teams. So, those guys actually, every special teams coach that I've been around, actually been a guy that, wants to put his foot in your butt, and they've all been that way.
I'm in on that.
Yeah.
So just wrapping up, is there anything in particular that you're looking to see from this team going into Friday night's game 2?
I think I want to see some consistency. Take what happened in the first game. I know this week is going to be a little more game plan, as far as the offense and defense goes. On offense, hopefully the number ones can do pretty much what they did, take the ball, move it down the field. The number twos doing the same thing. The defense, I just want to see some more tackling. And I think everybody across the board would agree with that. And the defense we know is going to be a little not as vanilla as it has been in week 1. These guys are actually going to be making calls. They're going to have to make adjustments this week. So I just want to see if the guys can, especially the young guys, Lee, Jenkins, those guys can actually come out and not be like a deer in headlights and just adjust to what's going on during the game.
I'm hoping to see McClendon out there. I mean, I know his toe injury. I want to see him because he can be a factor in that defensive line. With that rotation, when you have you have all the beasts out there now. With Jarvis Jenkins and I'm anxious to see how that defensive line is going to start because I think they're the key to that whole defense in general. I mean, you get fresh bodies and we can keep those guys fresh. It could really be chaotic. I mean, real chaotic. And now you have some fast, speedy linebackers, which we haven't had in the past. Right. Which can now cover these, these running backs coming out of the backfield, the wheel routes, and the tight ends and stuff. Because beating New England, and we got to worry about our division. We have good tight ends in the division. We got good running backs in the division. Guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I want to see us. Listen, number one, I want to see us come out of it healthy. That's all we, every week, you say, this man, please, just, let's go in full strength in week 1, because we do have a tough schedule, but it'll be exciting. I like what's going on with the team. I just think that, the camaraderie and what you're seeing from that team is, you have to be excited as a Jet fan. You really, truly have to be excited as a Jet fan to watch what's going on. Coach Bowles has a clear, he just has a hold on his team. I mean, he is the man. And, it's so refreshing to watch him because that team reacts through your coach. Yeah. And you see him on the sideline and he's the stealth bomber. He's just like, you just look at him and he's just, I love him, and McCagnon. Was this true when I was reading on the Twitter line last night that McCagnon was out in the Niner game? Was that they had him listed as one of the scouts out there in Niner game last night. The Niner.
I know he was out of town. I don't know about
Yeah,
being
in San Francisco, and they had him listed on the list. It was on Twitter last night.
He actually he's out scouting. I'm not saying pro guys, but the college guys have started now.
Well, he was out there in the pro game. He was out there for the Niner. Who did the Niners play last night? They played last night. Houston.
Yeah,
they played Houston. So I mean, I just love the direction of what's happening here. Get excited. Get excited.
There we go.
It's coming. Jet football. New York Jet football.
Love it.
He said it.
Shop.
I did it at my desk.
I did it in the cockpit, circling Atlanta at 30,000 feet.
I did it on the conference room table, in front of my boss, who's my mom.
Why draft your fantasy football team at work when you can have an awesome draft party at Hooters? Choose Hooters for your fantasy draft party. Every league gets a draft kit worth up to $200 in freebies. Book now at hooters.com/football.
Hey, what's up, Jets fans? Coming at you live from the Hooters at Hackensack. I'm joined by the lovely Carrie Nordic. How excited are you to get going on Friday night?
I'm so excited for this football season again. You guys come on down Friday night at 7 o'clock to watch the Jets take on the Redskins. And remember, when you're wearing your Jets gear, you get a special discount here at Hooters at Hackensack.
Awesome. Come on down, guys. We recently had a chance to sit down with Jordan Jenkins at his apartment in Florham Park. He had a lot of interesting things to say. Check it out. What's up, everybody? I'm here with New York Jets rookie outside linebacker Jordan Jenkins. Now, Jordan, third round pick, 83rd overall. I know you made reference to the fact that every team really passed you up. 82 other guys went before you. Just how big of a chip is on your shoulder entering this season?
It's most definitely a big chip on my shoulder. I really think about it almost at least every day, or if not every day, at least once or twice a week. Because I just sit there and think every day I wake up in the morning and go to practice that at the end of the day, there's 82 people that went before me, and that it's just something that I know it's an honor to get drafted, but that's still something that sits in the back of my mind every time I go out there to practice and get ready to just go at it on the field.
So the other quote that I absolutely loved from you was when you said that one of your goals entering camp was to frustrate as many veterans as possible. And the fact that if you did that, it means that you're doing something that's worthwhile. So early on in camp, I know we're only about 2 weeks in, but do you feel like you're accomplishing this so far?
Yeah, I feel like getting the job done. I always try and go at it. I always try and go 100% because I'm not the type of guy. If a vet or somebody doesn't feel like they want to practice, I'm not going to sit there and slow play or downplay my game for their liking. Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to earn this place on this team. I'm trying to earn my way, earn my respect. And if you can do that, I'm going to take advantage of that and make you get mad and try and go harder on me. Because at the end of the day, it makes me a better player and it makes him a better player as well. And it's something I've always carried about myself since I was in high school.
Awesome. Now, I know we're only about 2 weeks in, but what is the biggest difference that you've noticed going from college ball to pro?
The biggest difference is that you can't really take a play off, not really take a play off, but you really have to be on top of your assignment 100% of the time. Because you can't just sit there and try and set the edge on one guy and peek in the backfield outside the gap because you'll get out leveraged, and that split second hesitation, that split second you decide to peek, you're going to either get thrown out of, you're going to lose your positioning or make your job a lot harder than it is. And you can get away with that in college off of your athleticism, but in the league, everybody's just as strong as you are, if not stronger.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, along those same lines, what are your early impressions of Todd Bowles and Casey Rogers' defense? Are they asking you to do a lot of things that you did back in Georgia, or is it a lot of new stuff being thrown at you?
There's definitely a lot of similarities in some of the stuff I'm being asked to do, and there's also some newer stuff that sort of coincides with some of the things I've learned throughout Jeremy Pruitt's system and Coach Grantham's systems. And it's just stuff that it might be some coverage stuff I might not know that I'm learning throughout the process, but it's nothing too complicated for me to learn. But it's I'm definitely loving my role, or what I hope to be my role in this defense.
Now, there's so many veterans on this defense that should definitely help you with that transition. You got guys like Mo Wilkerson, David Harris, Darrell Revis, some of the best at their position. So who are some of the guys that have sort of taken you under their wing, or even guys that you have gone to for advice for different situations?
Well, see, I sort of feel like it's almost all the veterans on defense, because have a bad play or something, I remember having Calvin saying something to me, just keep your head up, don't even worry about it. Gilchrist saying something. I mean, it's just the whole defense. They just, I don't know, they just see talent within me, or they see something within me that I don't see or that they think can be better, but they're always just trying to make all of us, or all the rookies and all the new guys, just play to the top of our ability. And they're not going to bash us if we mess up. Of course, they're going to be frustrated, but they say it in a way that makes you want to do right by them.
Awesome. Now, lastly, there's been a lot of talk over the past couple of days that things have been getting a little chippy at practice. You know, I think that's normal this time of year. You know, you expect those things. You guys are ready to start hitting some other people, but I also love seeing that competitiveness in practice. But I got to ask you, who's one guy on offense that has sort of been getting you a little bit frustrated so far, or even a guy that's just been challenging you a little bit?
I mean, I really feel like it's a lot of pretty much both sides, all the guards and tackles. I line up against them a lot, and I mean, I can make people agitated sometimes because I don't stop till the whistle blows, and I mean some of the guys, they don't like that, but I mean it's just
Jet fans will definitely love that.
Yeah, I mean I'm an intense guy. I mean I feel like I get into it with just about everybody.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time. Jet fans, you're going to love this guy. Jordan Jenkins, man. Thank you again.
No problem.
Best of luck this season.
Go on.
All right, we're going to finish up the show with a couple of questions from our fans on Twitter. The first one that we got is from @SpottyBlackman. If seeing Hack play is not a priority, should we get comfortable with 4 quarterbacks going forward?
I don't know if it's actually going to be a comfortable thing, but for the most part, I think it's set right now that Fitz is a starter, Geno is a backup, and I think they're looking to see what Petty can do. So if he's the guy that's going to be that can make that jump from year 1 to year 2, and he makes that much improvement, Hack is probably going to be, fourth for the remainder of the preseason.
Ed, kind of know where you stand on this.
I just believe that if Petty steps up in this second and third game, the way, when he shows that, he can play the game on that level and be comfortable like he seemed to be on last week, I think Geno's days are numbered. My opinion. I mean, these guys don't agree with me. I think if Petty shows that he can play, and you're going to see it in the second and third game because they're going to be coming, and especially the third game, they're definitely coming. I don't think you're going to see Geno here.
With the talent around this team, I just don't know how you can go into this season with 2 backups that don't have any experience.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He needs to show that he's gotten it. If he hasn't, then you know what? Then I'll stand corrected. And hey, I told you, anybody that wears the green and white, I'm gonna be rooting for. So, I mean, I hope Geno's here if that's the case. But I really want to see Petty show what he can do and assume the backup position. Sooner the better for us, because Geno ain't gonna be here next year.
That I'll agree with you with.
He's not gonna be here next year. So if this kid can step up now, what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for?
So the next question we got is from @NYJFTV. So sticking along with the Hackenberg stuff, was Hack's lack of snaps more of an indictment on him, or was it more to just see what Petty has to offer?
I think it's more to see what Petty actually has to offer. Hack is in a spot where he was a pretty high draft choice, but Fitz took the team to almost the playoffs last year. Geno was the starter before that. Petty was the guy who was supposed to be in Hack's spot last year. So, it's just the rotation has just gone in that direction. From the way it looks, it's just that it's a lot of stuff for Hack to actually put into his head, and they don't want to rush it. So,
and there's no reason to.
There's no reason to rush him into anything. He can sit down. He can relax.
And Todd Bowles even said it yesterday. It's all about the mental reps for him right now. He gets that down first.
That's all it is.
Put him into the
game.
That's
all it is. Trying to explain that to a lot of people that for him it's just going to be mental for this year. As long as everybody stays healthy, there's no emergencies where he has to be thrust into a playing situation. You know, he's just going to be, you know, go through practice, learn everything in the meetings, and, you know, once OTA start next year, then, you know, he'll be thrust into action.
It's just funny when you say that, you know, because how many of these quarterbacks come out of college and they throw them in there, you know, and time again, more than likely it hurts them. It doesn't help them. They wind up with happy feet. They never really advance their game. And, you know, I love the fact that they can take, you know, some time and let this kid mature. I love what's happening here. I mean, the reason Aaron Rodgers is as successful as he is, I believe, was because he sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years. I mean, he just sat there, you know, and eventually there was no pressure. He got his time. Like you said, the mental part of the game, and then all of a sudden, you know, you are a ball player. You're an NFL quarterback, you know. And
even Chad, going back to the days with Vinny, I mean, he sat for a while, too. And
I just love that whole, you know, this society, it's all about now. We got to have it now. I want it right now. Give the kid a break. All right?
All right, and the last question that we got is from our good buddy, Gangrene David. 1, do you think the Jets can win the Super Bowl with this talented roster?
I do. The way the actually team has gelled, pretty much the roster is the way it was last year. And pretty much everybody has a second year in the offense and the defense, and that's huge. And as we were talking about before, a lot of people talking about the strength of the schedule. You know, those teams actually still have to play the Jets as well. So, and this is the NFL. You know, there's no easy games for anybody on any week. So, you know, the way I'm looking at it is this is another year that the guys are actually going to be better than they were last year. Yeah, so, you know, the sky's the limit. And with this talent on this team, if the guys can stay healthy, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that, you know, this team can actually make it to the Super Bowl.
You know, it was so enlightening today to finally hear one of our guys, one of the staples of the franchise. Rex Ryan always says we were going to go to the Super Bowl, which drove most of the fans nuts, which we had just talked about before we came on air. Darrelle Revis today was asked. He did not say they were going to the Super Bowl. He's too classy for that. That's not Darrelle Revis. What he said, we have the makings. We have the talent. We have the guys in that locker room, because he's already won a world championship. We don't like who he won it with, but he won it. If anybody knows, it was very refreshing, and it was exciting to hear Darrelle Revis say, yes, if we can stay relatively healthy, we have a legitimate shot. First things first, let's win the division. Let's finally win the division from Tommy Boy. Okay?
Awesome. Great stuff, guys. Again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Rob, Ed, awesome job tonight, and we'll see you guys again next week.